Hey guys, here with my buddy Sergio, and today we're going to be working on his third gen in the rain. We're going to be working on the rear suspension, so that's leaf spring and the struts. Wait. Oh, actually, there we go.
This video will be a vlog style removal and replacement of the rear suspension. We'll run into basically the same issues that you'll run into if this is your first time tackling this work. So hang out with us and follow along. I'll show you tips and tricks and how to do things a little bit better, since there are mistakes that do happen along the way.
First, seized part of the truck for today. Wheels are seized onto the hubs, so right now got 2x4 mounting it against the tire. Got my 5-pound sledge, and really no other way but I can manhandle this thing. Eventually. This will. Can you undo your e-brake, bruh, so we can get this to spin and rotate while we're hammering?
Yeah.
Alright, secondary flat, we'll hit at the wheel, but using the 2x4. The issue is we're not getting enough impact on there. Are you okay if I hit the 2x4 just like that? Yeah. You hear the whole truck creaking now, right? There we go. So, your turn, Sergio.
You did it straight onto the...
Right onto the wheel. On the flat edge, I mean. Did you put a nut back on? So things
No,
don't fly on you?
no. I'll put one on. Just in case. Off?
Yeah, you're good. Alright, not too bad. Just try to fit here. For now, just place it on the flat side, because you see how the frame also starts curving up.
Yeah.
Right, so you want to put on the flat. And then we'll just leave it like this for now. We'll start raising the truck a bit more.
Yep.
So now we'll jack this thing up as high as we can without hitting the top, and then we'll droop the suspension. So we got 4 jack stands for safety. The front wheels are chocked. Good to go. You get that thing up in the sky. It's the hard part about working in the rain. Yeah, your leaf springs are sagging too. You got major negative bow. So it's a good time, definitely, that you're getting those new leaf springs in. You got plenty of room on top. Because the thing is, like, the higher it is, the easier it is on our back. So, got it jacked up as high as we can. The tires in the front, as I guess, tertiary safety. We got 1 jack stand, 2 jack stand,
3,
and the tires for safety. Plus, we also got this to catch the axle housing. So we can go ahead and slowly put her down. Yeah, let's go real slow, dude. Okay, you can stop right there. Just hold double check, make sure everything's still in a safe situation. Looks like the frame's right on the first jack stands. The tire chocks, just kick them in. And I think we're good there. So can slowly drop it some more. Now this rear axle housing should start coming down slowly. Looking good. And I guess that's full droop. Once we start loosening the bolts on the leaf spring though, this thing will come down a little bit more. So you can lock up the jack and then just jack it up so that it just touches the axle housing. We'll leave the jack stands as is, but we can raise it a little bit.
Just a little bit?
The jack stands. Let's grab that jack stand, lift it up. So it can go, and this is going to be the bolt rustling portion. So it's always good to just clean the crud off of the threads like this. And a little bit definitely helps, because the crud is what prevents the thing from coming off. So I'll go, there's two here on this shackle. There's one on the front of the leaf spring here. And then we got the 4 of the threads on the 2 U-bolts here. Yeah, you can see a lot of crud and boogered up threads there from, I think that's probably from when we went mudding. That's from anthracite, so got that. Oh, no, yeah, the lower shock bolt. And I mean that one's gonna be, we might have to cut that one. Looks like it's pretty rusted on there. We'll see. Probably get away without having to cut any bolts. We finesse it enough. So after that, I'll hand this to you, and then we'll apply my trusty nut buster. This is basically liquid wrench in an oiling can. There we go. Good time to run out of this stuff too. Yep, looks like we're out, guys. Next best thing is a WD-40, which, and it's not as good as liquid wrench, but it works better than nothing. There goes Sergio. Really working that brush. Had his race today. In full track suit there. What if I can champ? What was it, Sergio? 30 miles? 40 miles?
30 miles today.
Yeah, 30 miles. And now we're working on his suspension. Definitely a lot of cardio for today.
Yeah. Talk about getting your sweat on.
Yeah. Alright, now we can get the impact. Loosen those leaf spring bolts. These are 19 mils on both the nut and the bolt head. So you can grab a wrench. Hopefully we don't have to rustle this. Very nice. Not too bad. So got those two off. Might as well take it off completely. Just this one we'll have to wrestle. Don't worry too much about it. It looks like we'll have to wrestle that thing. Okay. Well, the bolt's seized on there. The nut, not necessarily, but we can't get the impact wrench on here, so we'll have to wrestle the nut. What we'll do is we'll take 19mm wrench. We'll use the closed end. I don't know if you see me, Sergio.
Yeah, I see.
The closed end on there. And I got a longer wrench here. What we're basically doing is intertwining the two wrenches, so it works like a closed head breaker bar. And the gas tank is definitely in the way, obviously. That's why we can't take the impact. But hopefully this isn't too much to wrestle. This wrench is big. 19. Oh, I'm spinning it the wrong way. So, yeah, you gotta spin it the right way, guys. So remember, counterclockwise. And my back is against the hub right now. Shit, fucker, it's loose. A little bit I think I pushed maybe like 40 pounds of force. It's not too bad. Alright. Okay. I'll get my ratcheting wrench to make this a little easier. Alright, got the nut off on that one.
Use the ratchet side?
Yeah, you can use the ratcheting wrench there and make it a little easier to drive out. There should be enough tension on the, there you go, on the bolt. If we didn't undo the crud and stuff on there, we'll be wrestling that for a little while.
That's true.
On to the U-bolts. I think these are also 19s, if I remember correctly. Otherwise, they're 21s. Move the jack right there. Just test the socket for now. Look at that, on the money. It's like I know what I'm doing, guys. Alright, I know this one is gonna be a little easier. And you might want to wear some eye pro if you're prone to catching stuff with your eyes. Hand off to you. Yep, eye pro guys. Don't be like me. And that little bit of a seized washer. Sure. 2x4 up top. There. Loosen that washer right out. Washer on there. And if yeah, that's basically it. This lower bracket comes off. And I think we're gonna reuse these brackets for your aftermarket one. So U-bolts are off completely. And you can definitely expand them by hand so you can come off the leaf spring. And we're reusing the bump stops too, so hold on to those. So hold on to this lower bracket and the bump stop. We'll just set it to the side. Nice. Just set those inside. You can spread them out. Just needs to spread out just a tiny bit. All right, now we're gonna take the strut bolt, lower strut bolt out. We'll try that out later. Almost. There it is. All right, so this upper shock nut for OEM, it looks like it's a 14 mil, and there is a, it's almost like a flat. You can take a wrench, but the wrench really, I think this might be like an 8mm wrench. It's definitely not strong enough, so we'll use a set of vice grips. Vice grip the top to get that tight up on there. And I'll see if we can undo this motherfucker. All right, it's pretty tight on there. See if I can double wrench this. Double wrenching. There we go, it actually worked. Ratcheting wrench on there. We can, it's spinning, so let's keep that vice grip on there. As we undo it. Now, if this didn't work, guys, I would have just taken an angle grinder and cut that shit out. It's not worth the hassle. pull that off so we can grab here instead and finish up the rest of the way. You're not planning on reusing these, are you? All right. Mar up the surface. There we go. Easy day. Throw that away. Yeah, you want to get that vice grip right on the flat and just like tight enough to grip it. There you go. See if you can wrestle that. Other way. Flip it upside down. Oh, there you go. That's it. Oh, you got it loose. Nice. There you go. And you can probably just pull off the dust boot and then just grab on the shaft like what I did earlier.
That's what she said.
There you go. Oh, it's spinning actually. You might want to get that vice grip a little tighter. And see if you can get the jaws all the way in as far forward as possible so that it doesn't have much of a throat. So push it all the way up like that and then tighten that up. That way you get much more of the leverage when you close it. There you go.
Oops, I'm spinning.
Still spinning?
Yeah. Right, yeah, I'm spinning.
Let me see if I can take a crack at it. I'll have to go back to the top here. So what I did there was I pinned the vice grip right up against the frame. Now, definitely much better leverage with this setup. Yeah, if this didn't work, would have cut it off. See that, like, technique, which is a little bit of knowledge makes a huge effort difference. So this piece can come off. Oh, we'll go back to the driver's side. Take that off. And now let's take that lower bolt out. 2x4, so we don't mar the head of this. Pop it out. Like an easy day. Like that, and then take this part to be able to just pull. So don't forget all your hardware and old bushings and basically these shock absorber things. And that's it. Don't lose your bolt. Drive that back in, keep track. Wiggle that out. There you go. So at this point, we should be able to drop the axle and separate it from the leaf spring. And we'll have to make sure we watch out for is that we don't overextend those brake lines as we're dropping the axle height down, so we have more clearance to work. So yeah, let's get to that now. We'll drop the jack stance so that it's at its lowest height, and then we'll drop the axle housing, and while watching for those brake lines.
Now I'll pause the video right here because it's definitely a huge teaching opportunity. And just to point out, I did want to try a new technique with separating the axle from the leaf springs. At this point of the work, the axle is completely unbolted from the rear leaf springs. And I thought we could just balance that axle right onto the jack, and I completely neglected the whole weight of the drive shaft pushing down on that third member. I had to focus so much on that brake line tension that I didn't really take into consideration that forward roll of that axle.
Can you stand on the driver's side? I'll look at the bottom. You can take a look at more towards the middle and the top.
Yeah. Wait.
All right, we're good. We have it at least still on the jack.
Now luckily, we were doing the separation slow enough and careful enough that the drive shaft locking out prevented the axle from completely rolling off of the jack.
we'll rotate the axle housing onto the jack. And we'll also need a jack stand onto the shaft, the drive shaft. So, you got it, dude. You can just hold it like that. I'll get a jack stand onto the drive shaft. All right, we should be able to drop this axle housing a bit more. So that's why I do this pretty carefully for the most part. That's the extension on that brake line.
Yeah, it's about there.
Okay. All right, that's good. Perfect.
Now, hindsight is always 20/20, and after reviewing these videos and editing it, I think the much better way would have been to have a jack stand probably about an inch off of the drive shaft and have my buddy Sergio assisting that axle to be dropped down. He can hold one of the hubs, prevent it from rocking left and right and also rolling forward. And with the jack stand in the front, it will prevent it from rolling forward completely. I don't know. I'm just thinking about this in terms of the safest possible ways for you guys to execute this work.
We're gonna be limited on the height here when you put on the new leaf spring. But I think we can finagle that in. So we'll see. The driver's side is gonna be the hard part here. So I remember the new leaf spring has a higher ball, and it took a little bit of effort to fit it. But we'll tackle that when we get there. So this should be, we can double check. It's pretty stable right now.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, for the most part. So we can let that off and work on removing the leaf springs. We do have to drop that spare tire since it is in the way from getting the rear bolts off that leaf spring. So next, we'll drive these bolts out. There's really no way to get the top bolt off because this hanger is in the way. So we'll have to get the leaf spring off with the shackle. So we'll drive this bolt out first, and then we'll drive the front bolt out next. 2x4 and the hammer again. This one might not come off as easily. We'll see. Nice. And
You want to lift a little bit? I got to lift up on the leaf.
yeah, we can do that too. We'll lift up on the leaf and there, that works. All right, so for the front, we'll tackle this a little differently. Get a cold chisel in between here and see if we can separate the bolt. There we go. Got that separated. And yeah, this is, we should have enough flex on the cable. Yeah, we have enough flex on the cable to take that bolt off, right? So what we're gonna do now is we'll take a pry bar and the impact wrench, drive it out using this wrench. Yeah, if you take a look, right, like the head, like you have just enough clearance, at least on this side. You see that?
Yeah, yeah.
So, actually, we don't even need to do that technique. Let's see if we just pull that out.
Can I lift up on it a little bit?
What's that?
Can I lift up on it?
Let's see. Yeah, you could try to lift it up.
It's average here.
Nah. Don't worry about it. I got a different technique for this one. Can you pass me a random wrench? Any? Yeah.
Random wrench.
There's a random wrench. Any of the wrenches you see there. So this was yeah, that was. This was a technique that I was planning on showing with a pry bar, but you take your wrench, you pull with the wrench open end head, and then just use the thread to take it off. Just like that. So we don't have to like fucking manhandle the damn thing. Nice. Much easier, right?
Works.
Yeah, forgot to take off that e-brake cable bracket there. It's 12 mil bolt. There you go. So leaf spring is completely undone with all the hardware, except for the shackle. Obviously, you can't take the shackle bolt off without having to take the whole leaf spring assembly off with it. So the strategy, we'll rock this thing forward so that the shackle moves up. And oh yeah, there's a little bit of clearancing issue there, since you can only move up the rear maybe about an inch before you have to kind of twist it. And then we'll rock this one down. So I guess let's get to that. So let's get this. Try this up using the frame as leverage. Oh, actually, that was easier than I thought.
It went all by itself.
It literally just spun and made my work so much easier. And hopefully that's what happens with Sergio's side, because that's not as seized as I thought it was. That's pretty good. All right, let's see if you can replicate that, Sergio. So, let's take this shackle off. This one should just come right off. We'll be reusing this. Just make sure you get the orientation right. Hopefully you get better luck with this one. Sure. You can take that medium length one.
This one?
Yeah, so just lever against the front and see if it plops itself out. Just watch your fingers when the thing drops. Oh, there you go. So let me take that. So you'll have to twist it upside down. Or maybe you can just finagle it forward. See, it's very cumbersome. Okay. That's that. That was a little bit more gentle than what I did. Just grab the shackle when you're done there. All of the suspension components have been removed for the leaf spring. Sergio's going back in there, taking a wire brush and getting the debris off. So you want to do that with all of the bearing surfaces where the leaf springs are going to go. And then once he's done brushing and wiping it down, we'll be adding some wheel bearing grease on those areas to slide the new leaf springs in, like at least a little bit easier for us. So I think this is also a good time to brush the top brackets where the leaf spring's gonna sit. So brush off all the dirt. You'll see that some of this paint is probably scraped off. So we'll just apply some anti-corrosion compound on this after it's been cleaned up. If you've never used this, I'll have this linked in the description below. Really just like putting that stuff on there, works as a lubricant too. So here's the new leaf springs that we're gonna put in. We're gonna keep the packaging on here just in case like we hit something. At least the package protects the truck from further getting scratched. But for the most part, you have to take the orientation into account. You see the secondary leaf has a little wraparound here. That wraparound has to go to the front of the truck. So keep that in mind. The rear does not have that wraparound. And also, this does have new bushings, so we'll press those in. I think we might be able to just get away with manually doing it without having to press, so we'll try it out. Wheel bearing grease going into that eye. Poly bushing goes in. Hopefully we don't have to press this in. Oh no, I think we're lucky. It looks like it's just gonna slide right in. So wheel bearing grease on that sleeve. When it's easy like that, life is good. We'll do that on all 4 eyes. next we'll put the shackle, and I have this standing up. So again, the curved piece of that secondary leaf spring has to be on the front, but the shackle itself, the proper orientation, remember this is a shackle under, so the shackle goes underneath like this, and the face will be towards the rear. And you can think about it too in terms of spring cycling. Since this is a shackle under, the shackle itself will cycle this way. And if it's oriented the wrong way, and it's definitely not going to interfere. So that's how you can double check for yourself. It's just like that. So this is the heavy part, guys. I'm gonna take this leaf spring, basically try to finagle it onto the truck. Yeah, this is why I did it upside down, I remember. Sit like that. And now I have it basically balancing on the lower bracket here. I'll twist it upwards. I'll just finagle it in. That's why it's important to have the wheel bearing grease on there. Makes it a little easier. And then this is where, let's see, I'll grab the camera real quick so you guys can see. The front is mostly seated properly. We'll just need to take a pry bar, but the rear is, that orientation is the pain in the ass. So you see the spring curvature, right? And I don't know if you can see this, Sergio. Right, so this spring has a higher curvature than your stock leaf springs. So this will require actually opening up this leaf pack, like bending it open and then twisting it a little bit so that we can get the shackle, the lower portion of the shackle, to twist in. As you can see, it's already interfering with the frame right there. We'll try to fasten, at least partially fasten this front end. This will require a lot of movement with the pry tool. And we're good. Good there. Now this piece, this one will require a little bit of rustling. So now we gotta twist this. Oh, we can't twist this. Oh, there we go. That's it. Basically just muscling it in. The driver's side is gonna be a little tougher since we are limited on the droop of the suspension. We're gonna try to seat this here. Right now it's sitting on the bolt head. And that's seated, mostly seated on there. Like ideally, we want to drop this down a bit more too, but the brake lines are already at its max tension here. So this will require me basically pulling down on this and trying to get the bolt head to seat from the other side. So let's see if we can do that. Literally, just like that. Okay, that's actually not that bad. So we'll get the other bolt in. So I'm just pulling down on the leaf spring. At least Sergio didn't get the extra heavy duties. Basically just muscling it in. Grab that bolt in. That's not too bad. That was pretty easy actually. You wanna stick it in upside down in between the frame and that there you go. You just rust the right on that bracket. All right, now I'm gonna twist it upside down. Forward. Oh yeah, we got this bumper in the way.
Yeah.
Oh, get your hand this one. Let's try to seat that front first. Good. I have a rubber mallet so it doesn't mar up the paint. Nice. Let's see if you can seat the spring there. You might have to actually move the axle housing.
Yeah, do things back.
So, be able to pull back. I'll pull this back too. There we go. There, nice. Nice. Very nice. Okay, that's the hard part. So that's basically the hardest part of the work, guys. The next thing we're going to do is make sure that the leaf springs are seated properly. So we'll raise the axle housing enough with the jack and make sure that the head of the bolt that holds these leaf springs together are seated, and this lowest leaf spring is flush with that bracket, and we can reassemble those U-bolts on there. I'll jack up the axle housing. Jacking it up also, it kind of shifts everything around, so we'll have to like kind of reseat everything. So that this side's seated, yours got shifted out. So I think you could just rotate your side to get that reseat. So I think you might have to push it inboard, like towards me.
This way?
Towards this way.
This way?
Towards me, this way here. Push it. Push this way. There you go. That's it. So looks like both sides are seated. We'll jack this axle housing a little bit more, and just enough so that we have most of the weight off of the jack stands, and you have the leaf springs pushing down as the jack is pushing up, so we have basically like a clamping force in that area. So Sergio, can you raise that jack stand just a notch as a safety precaution there? Like, we don't have to rest the axle housing on it, but this allows it to not drop so much. That should be good enough. Now we can put the new U-bolts along with the bump stop and the rest of the shebang there, so let's get to that. So good practice. Your bracket, this is the lower bracket. I'll brush off all the crap on there. Same thing on the axle housing side. Fluid film again. Get the bottom of that axle housing and the top of this bracket. Light coat. Now we got this bump stop up top. And here are the new U-bolts provided by Davidson's. So let's get those in. Make sure when you put the U-bolt in, the new one, it's sitting right behind this little valley of the bump stop there. So go just like that. And for this portion, might have to squeeze those U-bolts to fit them through the bracket. So I'll go like this. Okay, this one doesn't look like it's pried apart. So drive that in with the washer, nut. Just a couple threads for now, because we would want to anti-seize this thing. Just to make sure that when we have to take this apart, we're not fighting any bolts. Prevention definitely makes it easier for your future self when you're doing any type of maintenance. New ones by Davidson's are 19 millimeters. So we'll take our anti-seize also and basically just anti-seize back here underneath the bracket itself, because as you're tightening that nut down, it's gonna take some of that anti-seize anyway. So you would definitely want to go around equally on this. So you don't want one side, like the front side, to be pulled up too far against the front versus the back. You want also the same amount of threads protruding out. Once you're done tightening this down, that's why I'm doing this by hand too. That's how it should look once it's completely secured on there. All right, now that we got both sides basically snug down, let's take off this packaging. Got a blade, get that shrink wrap on there, off there, I mean. U-bolts are in. Next, let's drive the nuts down for this this leaf spring. Like at least flush it up, not really drive them down too much because we want to tension this leaf spring with the weight of the truck on it. So let's at least put some anti-seize on there and drive those nuts. It's like brush off all the debris, especially after we hammer the stuff in. You know, sometimes you get the crud back on the threads. So here's the rear strut, guys. Looks like Davidson's packaged it in a way where they have this, looks like some type of wire that holds the bottom to the top, basically in the compressed position. We'll have to undo this wire and then put this bushing right through the eye there for the assembly, since the bolt is definitely much smaller than that hole. There we go. Now it's expanding. Now Davidson's doesn't really have much documentation on this, but you definitely want to resituate your dust boot. See how that's all folded on packaging, so just fix that up. This kit does come with multiple bushings, guys, and you'll have to make sure you fit the right one. So when it comes to fitting the right bushing, you have to make sure that the lower shock bolt that goes right on there actually fits, and not only fits onto that bushing itself, but you point it this way, but also have the same width as that lower shock mount. So there's multiple bushings here. As you can see, that one's too long. You need to ensure that you get the right bushing in there, otherwise you'll have a lot of rattling. And now we'll also put the rubber spacers up top. Looking at the rubber spacers, we got this this cup washer that'll be basically oriented like a cup holding water, just like that, for the bottom end. And then we have a rubber washer here with a little ledge. The ledge is basically what's locating to the center of the frame, so we'll put that ledge on top, and then there will be mirror image on the other side. So the frame goes on top here, then you put this on top of the frame, and then this goes on top of everything else. Then you put the nut to secure this completely. Wheel bearing grease onto the bushing, right into the eye. I already have the rubber piece here. So what you want to do is bring the stud to the top first, just like that. And you should be able to compress this strut just a little bit on the bottom in order to fit the bottom end there. There we go. And it'll be a little bit of finagling, so we'll take a rubber mallet and just drive it in there. There we go. And wheel bearing grease onto the shaft. It works as a corrosion prevention too. drive that in. There we go. And that secures, well, not completely secures, but at least we have that bottom bolt in, not to the top. So, as I mentioned before, let me get some light on here. We got the washer, the cup washer, basically holding the top there. And it looks like we'll actually need to raise the suspension a little bit in order to get that completely seated properly. There's a lot of space. So we'll at least drive this rubber shock mount there first, and then the other cup washer. So now I think we can raise the suspension a little bit on this this driver side, just to get that to seat properly. Now it's the strut that's compressing, so that means we've got that seated, and get that washer and that rubber piece down like that. Good practice, always with the anti-seize top, and then that nut. So we'll just flush that up. It's just 17 mil, guys, so we'll just snug that down. We'll have the reservoir hanging out for now. And at least with this, the stud itself is connected to the strut body, so you don't have to have a set of vice grips just like on the removal. See that? Now the rubber's starting to compress, so we'll stop there. Let's get that right bushing on there. Let's fit it up against the frame real quick. Make sure that that's the right width. Is that too long? Oh yeah, can you double check to make sure that's the right bolt width? Like just feed the bolt through that hole. Make sure it's not. Okay, yeah, that's it.
On the outside, you need to.
Yeah, just the outside. You put it on the shaft of the bolt for the inside later. You could probably lean it up against here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Washer should be oriented like a cup.
Cup facing up, right?
Yep. For this portion, then you have that rubber piece with the ledge up top there. Yep. You feed that up on the upper mount, and then drive the bottom bolt in. Yeah, you can lower the suspension because we still have it raised a little bit. But I'm gonna put the jack stand higher on the driver's side so we can get some droop. There you go. There you go. Nice.
Just a little bit of push.
Yeah. Okay, so now we do the top. See how there's a gap there? We'll have to raise the suspension a little bit more, close the gap. So here's the nut. Here is the anti-seize.
Good.
And here is your
Anti-seize for both, right?
yeah, for both. You wanna snug that down until that rubber starts compressing. But I'll raise this suspension for you. Ready? You want to finagle that so that that ledge that I was talking to you about on that rubber piece is centered on the hole. Looks good. And just go until that rubber starts compressing. So I'll raise the suspension just a little bit more, and we'll rest this whole thing on the jack stand.
the hardware this kit came with was not enough.
2 bolts, 1 nut, makes no sense. We're gonna go to the hardware store, get some more of these nuts, and get more drill bits too, just so that you know you gotta drill new holes to mount this thing. Here's the hardware setup we're gonna go with since we have no documentation from Davidson's. We picked up 2 new nuts. That's what the silver ones are for. And we got bolt, and we got this smaller washer, and we'll have the frame here, big washer, then nut. We will be putting Loctite so that we know this thing will not vibrate off. But we also do have these hanger brackets, and we'll just have to match drill the holes here against the frame, and I think that should be done, and we'll have to torque everything up. So guys, this is the driver's side. We'll have to position this properly, so I was hoping we can reuse this bolt. I guess we'll have to flex this. Yeah, that shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, that's okay. So lay that down for now, mark out a hole, and start the drilling. Silver Sharpie will make it so that this is essentially vertical. The matting is vertical. That should be good. We got our secondary hole marked for this reservoir. Let's get to the drilling. Pin punch. Center of that. A little bit of cutting oil. And low speed. Whenever you're drilling through steel, you definitely want to go low speed, high pressure, in order to keep that bit from dulling too quickly on you. Oh, there you go. And now our bigger drill bit. I think we got this 3/8. So we started with a 1/8 bit, stepping it up to 3/8. There we go. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Clean that up a little bit, but we were at least able to save some effort by not having to drill 2 holes. So we'll hit this with some your anti-corrosion compound, hit it both sides, and then we'll clamp everything together. Okay, just spray the outer surface. There you go. You can do both holes since that's going to be encapsulated. And you could probably hit the back side too. I don't know if you want to just go underneath. Sweet. So we got the anti-corrosion compound right there. We'll mount it like this. And essentially what we want to do, get those bolts in there first. Put some blue Loctite. Definitely be liberal with that Loctite on there. There we go. Got top one in. 13mm for both nut and bolt. Let's get anti-seize on this. And now let's carefully slide the reservoir in, kind of midway to the body, like that. And I guess we'll rotate it so that this hose doesn't flare out to the tire. And now let's tighten up. I'll just knock it down. Definitely don't want to tighten this too much. Just enough to keep that reservoir body on there. And that's pretty solid. I think we're good. It's far enough away from the bump stop, but it's also allowing you to clear the tire better. I think we're good there. That looks pretty good. And this, you can slide off. Just work this thing out. now that we have that completely installed. That definitely looks good, guys. It's definitely gonna ride a lot nicer now.
Now this is probably a good point in time to mount that dust boot over the strut body since everything is so open. Again, that part of the hardware was missing from this Dobinson's kit. So I did end up telling Sergio to get a hose clamp and basically secure that dust boot onto the body. Although many people do roll without the dust boot, and you can honestly just take that off completely. The only thing is, if you're in a dusty environment, I would recommend just keeping that dust boot on so that your seals, the dust seals on the shaft, can last a little bit longer.
Just brush off the threads here. Anti-seize. Make sure you have your washer and your nut. Snug that down. Make sure you have clearance on the top and the bottom there. I'd say do one at a time, just in case we need to shove the second hole. You know what I mean?
So drill one at a time?
Yeah, because like sometimes the drill bit walks when you start the drilling. Nice. Good stuff, dude. I can pay an ass, huh?
Seriously.
Let's get that bracket, get that fitted up on there too. Marking's still lining up. For the most part?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay, cool. We don't want to mash it down too much. We'll have the Loctite as the countermeasure for backing out. So Sergio is all done. That looks great. All mounted up. So we'll start torquing some of these bolts down. That lower 17mm bolt is torqued down at 61 foot-pounds. There you go. Nice. I'll do the other one. Alright, so for the upper shock, you just want to squish down those rubber spacers in between. Like, there's really not much torque you can apply on this. Otherwise, if you over torque this, those rubber spacers will get crushed too much and you wear them out quicker. So that should be good enough like that. Oh, next thing we're gonna torque, guys, are these U-bolts. So we can torque down the U-bolts with the truck suspended. The critical ones that need to be torqued down with the truck on the ground are for the leaf spring themselves. Because keep in mind, those U-bolts, they don't really see a lot of movement there. That's all going to be compressed together, and it's about 90 to 100 foot-pounds according to Robinson's for these U-bolts. So you also have to torque them in a cross pattern. Okay. So next up, guys, would be this e-brake cable. So we'll undo it real quick. This is a 12 mil. We already undid it from the previous leaf spring, but as you can see, you can't exactly fit it right away. There's gonna be too much tension. So after some research, what you can do is actually undo this front one, just like that. And you could expand this bracket like that. Just shift it forward enough. Just like that. Anti-seize, rotating that in. You don't need to go too crazy on this one. Just snug it up enough. And that should give you enough slack here so that we can mount this lower bracket. All right, good to go. Look at that. Like a glove. There's definitely enough slack on there. So now we can cycle through full droop on the suspension and full tuck. All right, Sergio, I'm gonna raise this axle housing. We can remove those two jack stands. I'll actually just bring them down all the way. or full droop. Looks like your struts are just long enough where there's not a lot of tension on it, so I don't think you need limit straps right now. Now let's raise it. Let's raise it completely so we can fit this truck on its own weight. Just make sure it's centered on the housing there. Alright, we're fully landed. Now that we got the weight of the truck on its own leaf springs, we can torque down those leaf spring bolts. 19 millimeter, torque down to 89 foot-pounds. What I noticed with the bolt, this is actually has 3 teeth on there that locks onto the frame, so we can't exactly torque it from the bolt side, and that's also why we couldn't do it earlier with impact. So we're gonna tighten it down with the nut side. So we'll use a wrench, tighten it down first as much as we can by hand, and then we'll torque it with this specialty wrench torquing tool. Link that down below too if you guys ever need. So same thing, and it's close enough to similar torque spec, because I know it's a extended lever arm. It's better than doing it by hand. There we go. All right, Sergio, your turn. There you go. All right, I think that pretty much tightens up everything. Look at that, suspension looks great. Next step would be to brush off the rust on the hubs here, anti-seize, and slap the tires on. As a reminder, 21 millimeters torque down at 85 foot-pounds. I would also recommend after about 50 to 100 miles of driving, just re-torque everything to the proper specs there, as things get loose as they move. So I think we'll wrap up this video with that. Drive this around and see how nice these rear ones feel.
Now I know this video is super long and I do go into fine details with the nitty-gritty portion of the work, and hopefully this addresses some of the issues that you guys do run into when you are tackling this work at home. I designed and laid out this tutorial so that you guys can hopefully follow as quickly and as easily along the way, and pause at any time so that you can resume your work. Now I'll admit, I was trying out new techniques in order to remove and install this rear suspension. So mistakes will be made, and in the future, they will continuously be made, because I'd rather I make the mistake and teach you guys how to learn from it so that you guys can build off of it and do it a little bit better than what I did. Anyways, that's very much it for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you check out our latest product for the 2nd gen, which is this sweet dome light Molly panel upgrade. This allows you to use that dead space in your ceiling as storage for your comps and some of your smaller overland gear. So make sure you check it out. Until next time, peace out everybody.